So, wasn't paying attention, long rant, lots of code. Uh, the major part I just ended up doing was creating a path, a default path here, notice. And what it's going to do is just going to try and grab the roster, hopefully just one, out of the database. If there isn't a roster, you'll get a null, and it'll send over a null value. And on the client, if it should receive a null value, then it's going to come back and ask for your list of classroom. So the thing is, all this has to be built in the classroom. If you don't have a classroom, I'll probably click you over to Google Classroom and say for you to create one. And then once you've imported the classroom from Google Classroom that you want to use, it's going to go ahead and send you over here to create a roster. And here we'll have like our default set up. So we'll set up a calendar, we'll set up a task list for a to-do list, and a couple of folders, student and public, and we'll put that under the classroom folder, the teacher folder, some incidents, so you can reward or admonish the kids as it may, and the default routine, which is the crux of the app, managing routine. All right, so that's what happened here. We're going to get some client code going. This is the main client code. I'm using something called Vue.js with something called Vuetify. As you can see, I've already started writing some of the code right here anyway. And I was on the student panel, what I expect when I see students, kind of getting a little ahead of myself. Template. So that template, let's see, why is there a X here? X. Let's see, student panel. That's very interesting. So since we have an extra there, try student panel again. Okay, that's right. So we have data, which returns an object, props, then we have template, and then we have the end of that. So we just tell them the semicolon, and that's the end of our variable, right? Okay, so what I really need to get into is my routine page, my assignment page, my goal page, my incidents page. Now here's my class page, and I haven't done much with it. I just realized, I didn't have any of the things on the server side going on. Now I have that going, so I'll make a template. I am using Vue.js, and I could, write some string, but what I like to do is I'll go over here and I'll create an HTML page. Let's call this roster page. And notice it's going to send it automatically to my web app, which is fine. That'll be a page I erase later, or a page that I used to create a Vue.js. So the template's almost ready. So we don't need any of the HTML stuff that's here, because we're going to have something called template. And we don't even need to use template because we're going to be hitting the string up. So the one thing we want to do here is note that we are dealing with roster panel. So this is our roster. Actually, we should say classroom panel because this is our classroom. And in our classroom, we are going to be having a slot, a name slot, a name called layout. And depending on the type of layout chosen, then you will use it there. But also we need to take care of right now is the empty slot. So we'll have this as an ID of empty classroom. And what to do if there's an empty classroom. So, and then we can have a v if, and that's only if we'll have a variable called empty classroom boolean, and if the classroom is empty, then it'll show it. Actually, we have a boolean roster, and if the roster is there, then we're fine. Or if there's no roster, if roster is actually equal to null, then we'll pull this stuff out. All right, so if roster null, and here we'll say to the user, I'll make it H5. You must import a course from Google Classroom. And then here's where we'll have our vlist, and vlist will be a v4, and then we'll have course and courses, if that's what we're calling it. I think we might be calling it classroom. Alright, so we'll have to have something available called courses, and that way we'll have a v4, and we're not going to do it to the list per se, so this is actually the wrong place for it. We're going to do it to list items. And I believe they call it items. I might call it tile, like vlist tile. And I'll look into the code. So since we're using something called Vuetify, I'm sure I've gone over this with you. Oh, by the way, I am doing a GoFundMe. The goal is for $7,000, and today somebody donated $20, and it's nobody I'm related to. So thanks for that. But let's go to Vuetify. Here's the documentation, and they have components here. And one of the components that they have is a list component. And, you know, it's just a regular list that you expect to see. And if you look into the code, you have vlist, and yeah, they have something called vlist tile. And then that has either some avatar or some content. And then, you know, you can close it. And that's basically what we need here. And notice how they use in the v4. So v4 item and items. And then they do their components that way. So we're going to be following the same thing. Just wanted to make sure that I was right. We have a tile. And then we can go vlist tile component. content, I think is good. And the content here will be, first of all, we'll have a slot for course name. And we'll make it a span. And that's an interpolation. And then we can have another slot. And that name, of course, will be course. I think you have to have it. Forget what they call it. This dashed case. Course name. And this one will be course description. And of course, we'll make it a span. And we'll just put the description there. Right, and then we're good to go. We're pretty much all we need for these guys anyway. So, oh wait, and we need to talk about what happens in these tiles. And so I forgot my v4 equals course in courses, and each of these tiles is also going to have a click event because that means that's the one it's choosing. I'll make it native, and we'll have something like that tells us which course was chosen. So we'll have it say, I don't know, course selected. Yeah, and I'll call it to that method, course selected. And since it's an event, you'll get the element sent to you, well, the target element sent to you. So let's give this an ID of whichever the course is. So course. I think what would it afterwards? Whatever the course is, so the ID will equal course ID. And so we'll basically get the one, the course ID, or we could also search for something called course name. So we can do a search, find course name. So this will be a class course name, and we might do a search that way, but we don't need the name, we need the actual ID. So actually, we're not going to do that anymore, because the ID is what matters to us. Alright. Alright, so far in our panel, in our classroom panel, we say what happens if the roster is null, and we say, this is pretty much it, we haven't gone anything else. We're going to test to see if this part works. And we'll do that in the next video.